はい。Shut up. Shut up. I'm just kidding.
Вот что-то типа того.
Oh, God, it's so damn hot up here. All right, thank you very much.
Nick, we had a napkins to you if you need it.
I got napkins for my face.
Ну актер, ну актер.
За это и деньги получает.
Moscow. I'm in Moscow right now. What the fuck, man? How's it going, guys? Sweaty? What up? Okay, so much like Keith, we've got about an hour or so together. We're gonna be buddies. We're just gonna talk. We're gonna sweat together. We're gonna blow our eardrums out together, and it's gonna be a wonderful time. So let's get right into it. Who has a question?
Alright.
This guy had his hand up earlier. What's up, my friend?
Is there anything you cannot play?
Is there anything I cannot? Of course. Of course. Well, I can't play it.
Gent?
Is there anything I can't play? Yeah, of course. Yeah, absolutely. Do you want to tell them what that's all about?
Так, ну да, молодой человек спросил, что не может сыграть Ник. Есть ли такое вообще? Что не может играть? Ник ответил, да, я что-то не могу сыграть.
So what you're hearing when I play guitar is what I'm good at. I avoid my weaknesses. I don't even go near them. I'm not good at that. Fuck it, I walk away. Nah, I don't have anything to do with that.
Да, собственно, то, что я делаю хорошо, вы это слышите. То, что я делаю плохо, вы никогда не услышите.
Perhaps that is like the opposite thing that you want to hear from like a guitar player that maybe you like. But man, I'm just telling you the truth.
For example,
We're not going there, buddy.
Не будет он на это отвечать, не будет.
Yes, sir.
Следующий вопрос.
Yeah, so welcome to a tropical country.
Oh my gosh, thank you very much.
So,
Thank you very much.
I'm a guitar geek, so the question will be about your guitar and your relation with Schecter.
Oh, okay.
So basically, what was the level of freedom that Schecter provided you with? Was it like the basic model that you just modified and tweaked, or was it like a child and finished?
Translate, please.
My dad just cut me off.
Ну, вопрос про подписную гитару, именную, какой был уровень свободы, который Schecter предоставил?
They just gave your
Была
passport back to you.
Была
That
это-
kind of freedom.
Была ли это базовая модель, которую он просто улучшил и там что-то добавил, или все с нуля делали вместе?
Yeah, да, спасибо. Okay, Nick, your turn, man.
Yeah, they kind of said do whatever you want. Yeah.
And you choose a Stratocaster.
and I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything, guys. I have no interest in that world. I have no interest in that. I have something that works. This is all I use. I don't take extra guitars. Even when I go on tour, I'll go on tour with bands and they'll take 10 guitars. I take a gig bag with this and a cable, and I use whatever amp is there. That's just how my mind works. I don't know if that's a good thing. I don't recommend that.
Also,
But that's me.
We're also very terrified you will step on the cable and unplug in the middle.
Isn't that just part of the fun tonight, isn't it? The whole thing could just
I think-
explode at any moment, yeah.
I think, man, it was like a presentation of that cable, yeah? You step on it and it's still plugged in.
You know, I
You
kinda,
know?
I forget my surroundings when I'm trying to bend one note. I'm just like
So, always on the edge.
always on the edge. Yeah, I basically I could do anything I wanted, and I said, just give me like a really cool neck and some nice pickups, and
So it's like a minimalistic approach.
yeah, I've always played Strat guitars, and I don't need much. I just need something that won't.
Is the neck
One second. It won't warp when I travel a lot. I need a guitar. I mean, I'm in a really sweaty room right now, and it's still in tune. That's a beautiful thing. It's a 14-inch radius, 25.5-inch scale. So it's yeah. Really tall frets, and you know, I don't think too much about that stuff. It feels good. In the words of my favorite guitar, one of my favorite guitar players, if it feels good or if it sounds good, it's good. Yngwie Malmsteen, ladies and gentlemen. What up?
Ну, бегло переводим, да, по характеристикам для всех желающих. Да, так как вопрос был, какую свободу тебе предоставили при изготовлении собственной подписной модели, Ник сказал полную свободу, что хочешь, то и делай. И он выбрал Stratocaster, потому что, говорит, мне не нужно ничего другого. Я люблю и эту форму, и все характеристики, они меня полностью устраивают. Сделайте действительно хороший, классный инструмент, как и все остальные шектеровские.
I'll give you an example of how much R&D I did.
И смысл в том, что некоторые... I'm not done. Sorry, man.
This is Russian guy.
I don't know who is it.
Well, it's me.
Continue.
Yeah, thank you. И смысл в том, что некоторые ездят в тур с десятками инструментов различных, там, может быть, форм каких-то разных, да, цветов и так далее. Я, говорит, беру с собой только один инструмент и шнур, потому что меня в нем все абсолютно устраивает. И не заморачивается человек вот на каких-то там делах. Вот ему нравится, его все устраивает, пожалуйста. Да, thank you.
Are we good? Okay. I'll give you an example of how much R&D I put into this. So I went into the shop for a couple hours. Now, compared to someone like Keith, it took him months. So that's where my head was at. Give me something that works. And here we are.
3 singles.
3 singles. Low output. It's a beautiful thing. Either it's in here or it's not.
Ну да, дело в том, что Ник пришел, сказал, что вот я хочу вот это, сделайте мне что-то действительно классное, но вот в таких характеристиках. Пожалуйста, за 2 часа, грубо говоря, он понял, что ему нужно. Кит, ну, ему это было интересно, он полностью вовлечен был в процесс изготовления своего собственного инструмента, его дизайна, поэтому у Кита это заняло несколько месяцев. Здесь просто вот хороший инструмент, подписной, пожалуйста.
Anybody else? You, sir.
Hi, Nick. First of all. Yeah. Первый вопрос.
First of all, ты хорошо начал? Давай.
Использует ли он какие-то примочки? Это первый вопрос.
Окей.
Можно? Чтобы он
сразу, да?
ответил, а
Хорошо,
потом
окей.
мы из этого
Nick,
посмотрим.
this is the first question for that guy. And do you use any pedals? Usually.
No.
Right now you use a camper.
No, I don't use any pedals.
И из этого второй вопрос.
Пожалуйста.
Что повлияло на него, что вот он выбрал именно вот, так сказать, тропу вот с этими приключениями постоянными, там, с громкостью, а не копание вот в примочках, там, эффектах и так далее, что
Окей.
вот выбирают
Я понял.
многие.
The second question is that what you do, but to do what you do with all controls, all volume stuff, you know, to switch instead of, you know, just to using the pedals.
Okay. So, I grew up with no money. That answers a lot of it. Well, so I grew up with very little money, which meant I had a guitar and a practice amp, and that was it. And I was lucky to have gotten that. So I got used to that approach at a very early age in my guitar playing career. And when I started to meet people that were using pedals, I didn't really know what to do with them. It's like, do you want more distortion, or do you want more delay, or it was just such a foreign concept to me, and it changed the way I played, and I hated the way it made me sound because I was like trying to hold back or trying to control this versus having. Well, I mean, this is a lot of gain even for me. But using this as the pedal, using that as a pedal, using this as like an EQ or something, that to me was just like the obvious way, the right way. And I would watch players like Jeff Beck. I mean, even guys like Randy Rhoads, you'd watch him in those old videos. He'd go for a bend and he'd switch to the back pickup. Or you watch Yngwie play, or Stevie Ray Vaughan, all these guys using this as much of the instrument as this or as this. And by the time I had a little bit of money, I was saving up to make records. So I was like, not into it. It didn't really work for me. And now when I play live, I try and just get a good amp tone, and it's the purest signal I can get, and I just try and make that work.
Рос без особого, да, возможности купить педали, и поэтому, когда занялся инструментом, другого выхода, кроме как работать с этими переключателями, не было. Плюс Ник смотрел на таких гитаристов, как Стив Рэй Вон, Джефф Бек, которые используют переключатели датчиков и потенциометры больше, чем, собственно, правую и левую руку при игре. И вообще, когда он путешествует много и играет много, он старается получить как можно более чистый сигнал. Просто чистый сигнал, и уже работать, собственно, с ним, потому что это это его.
What it has taught me is truly the tone is in your hand. I try and just travel anywhere in the world with just my guitar, and I plug straight into an amp, and it challenges me to make that work and to kind of push through and to try and sound like myself, even though I don't have the comforts of maybe the home studio or the bedroom, right? You take that away from you and you're like, oh shit, now I can't do like 90% of what I like to do. I never wanted to be in that position. You know?
Да, и второе дополнение, то, что это всегда вызов, да, когда у тебя есть только гитара и кабель, и ты, соответственно, всегда стараешься выжать максимум и работать с этим, нежели ты в каких-то комфортных условиях там в своей студии, когда у тебя есть там то и то.
Yeah. I don't know if it's better, but it works for me.
Да, это не лучше в целом, как слоган, но для него это лучший вариант.
Yeah. Someone like Tom Morello needs those pedals, you know? It's like, it's not better for him.
Ну да, например, Том Морелло, ему необходимы педали.
What's up?
Okay, so the question is like the same for Keith and same for you. What mistakes would you advise to make if you're a beginner to intermediate player? What pits you have to fall in and climb out of? And what would you advise to starting to beginner player to do, like to keep in your mind when you're practicing?
Ну да, собственно, вопрос такой же был для Кита и такой же для Ника о том, какие ошибки стоит делать начинающему гитаристу, чтобы научиться, видимо, на них, да, и сделать, идти вперед и развиваться.
Well.
Oh, it will be a long answer, yeah?
Yeah, it's going to be a real long one. Settle in for this one. Well, I think the first thing that comes to mind is to get away from your phone and your computer.
Can I translate partly? Yeah? If it will be a long answer, can I translate a part?
Of course, yeah, of course.
I'll
keep that in mind.
Yeah, sure, man.
When you're practicing, get rid of the internet. Get it away from you. It is a horrible distraction. That's the first thing. And I started playing guitar when I was 14. I'm 30 now, so this was 2001. I didn't have the internet for the first few years of my guitar playing. So I didn't have tab websites, I didn't have YouTube, I didn't have Instagram videos, blah, 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 blah. And this taught me the ability to sit down with my guitar, without even realizing it, for like 2 hours straight, without being distracted. To have just that focus with a piece of wood, that's not easy to do, right?
Окей. Первое, что стоит сделать, да, так это вылезти из интернета, выкинуть телефон, да, и играть. Собственно, Нику сейчас 30, он начал около 16 лет назад играть на инструменте, и первые несколько лет не было вообще, ну, фактически, да, доступа хорошего в интернет, не было Ютуба, не было сайта с табулатурами, по которым можно учиться быстро, да, играть, и поэтому это заставляло его сидеть с гитарой и просто фокусироваться на этом и играть по несколько часов кряду.
Right. So immediately, that teaches you a lot of really cool shit. Self-discipline, the focus, and that immediate kind of motor skills that you need to develop for your own style. You're not watching, oh, how does that guy from, you know, the USA, or how does that guy do it on his channel? Let me watch. Oh, his picking is like that. You know, figure out your own thing. Okay. For me, okay, go ahead.
Can I?
You may.
Thank you. И это именно заставляет тебя, во-первых, самодисциплина повышается, да, а во-вторых, ты не смотришь на каких-то известных там американского гитариста или австралийского, ты не стараешься делать такое же звукоизвлечение, как он. Ты концентрируешься на том, что делаешь ты, и это правильно.
You also live with the guitar and the music you're making by yourself without any outside influence. I mean, a lot of really cool stuff starts to happen in the first couple of years of your guitar playing if you're looking in a lot of times. You get used to using the tone you have and making that tone sound good versus I see he's using a Friedman amp. How much are those? $3,000. Oh, maybe I need one of those too. No, you don't need one of those. You need a practice amp.
Если ты концентрируешься на том, что делаешь ты, и, опять же, ты не смотришь на другого человека, да, который говорит, вот я использую вот эти усилители, да, может быть, и ты думаешь, может быть, мне тоже стоит их использовать, потому что они классные. Тебе нужен просто комбик для практики, да, для занятий. Ты делаешь, и делаешь, и делаешь, и становишься лучше.
Okay. Then, after, you know, and this depends on you or me or whoever, the individual kind of taste. What I would suggest is you play with actual human beings, real people that are always better than you and can make you feel really, really bad.
Первый, да, совет практически это всегда играть с людьми, которые лучше тебя знают инструмент, потому и заставят тебя чувствовать себя плохо, но ты поймешь, что это правильно.
Because it's really strange in, maybe it's the same in Russia, I have no idea, but in the West, if you're playing music and you make mistakes, it's like frowned upon. People are like, oh, well, he must suck if he can't, oh, listen, he was flat on that bend or he missed that chord. Is it the same here?
Yes.
That shouldn't be a thing. I mean, if you're learning how to spell or you're learning how to read, if you fuck a word up, it's like, I don't know it. So give me a chance, you know?
Ну да, то есть история в том, что когда ты делаешь ошибки, и люди говорят, о, ну ты лажаешь, да, там что-то не так сделал, все, этот чувак ничего не умеет. Да, на Западе также, on the west side, Western world, yeah. Okay, the same thing, yeah?
Right, same thing.
Окей. И, то есть это так не должно быть, да. То есть я мог совершить ошибку, но потому что я этого не знал, потому что я учусь.
Okay. Oh my god, the breakup keeps messing my head up. Make mistakes. Okay, because what starts to happen, really interesting, when you do mess up a lot, or you mess up in front of people, the really cool thing is you realize you don't die. And you get over that fear. Like, if I make a mistake up here, for example, guys, I'll be honest with you, I don't give a fuck. I really don't give a fuck.
The answer is about никто от этого не умирает, и ну, просто-напросто ничего страшного, нужно продолжать идти дальше и делать свое дело, стараться.
But don't get me wrong, you still have to care. But if something happens to come up, just, it happens. You get over it. Okay, playing with people, getting away from the internet, and then just kind of figuring out what it is you want to do as a guitar player. I wanted to be a songwriter. I wanted to be able to pick my guitar up and plug into anything and sound like me. That was my big goal. I'm still working on that. Take some guitar lessons. Music theory is your friend. Guys, Learn your fucking music theory, please. Please.
Ключ ко всему, да, музыкальная теория. Пожалуйста, учите, пожалуйста, и занимайтесь.
There are anomalies. Not everybody needs it. Keith has managed to do it without it, but we're not all Keith.
Да, Кит может обойтись без этого, но не все мы можем быть как Кит.
And then, after you've done this stuff, hopefully you're still in love with playing guitar. Because you have to play a lot of guitar. You have to play an ridiculous amount of guitar. Man, I was the 6 to 8 hour a day kid, whatever, I was a loser, had no friends, blah, 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 blah. But I'll still pick the guitar up sometimes, and I'm like, what the why do you hate me? I thought we were friends. It doesn't always work for you. Like, it's a crazy instrument. It's up and down, So, practicing as much as you possibly can, playing a lot, writing music, developing your own style by not looking at what everybody else is doing. And then here's the real answer. I'm bullshitting this entire time. The real answer is I have no idea. I have no idea. I'm just talking. I'm like, what sounds good? I think that sounds good. That's kind of what I did. Did I do that? I didn't do that. I'll say it anyways.
Да, собственно, по большому счету, ответа у него никакого нет, но это размышление вслух. Каждый выносит то, что считает правильным для себя.
Figure it out, man.
То есть, подытожи, да, весь большой ответ, что нужно заниматься, смотреть, да, но делать что-то действительно свое и концентрироваться в первую очередь на своих возможностях и своих желаниях.
One thing that really changed my life and my perspective on guitar playing was doing these types of things. Getting in front of a room full of people and just playing guitar and talking about guitar really changes your perspective, and it helps you get rid of a lot of stuff you don't need. I remember the first band I joined when I was 14. I was like, I come into the jam room and I'm like, and they're like, okay, well, that's great, but can you play over? And I'm like doing these arpeggios, and they're like, dude, what are you doing? I was like, oh God, man, okay. So, in that case, you're playing with people and you realize, like, I don't need to eight finger tap. Oh my God, I'll focus on vibrato instead. Having an even bend.
Да. В дополнение ко всему, что нужно понимать, да, на чем сконцентрироваться, получается, лучше, да. В 14 лет Ник поведал историю, что он пришел в группу и играл.
Yeah, and one of the things you
всякое
need...
такое. И, соответственно, ребята говорили, ты можешь сыграть, нормальный, просто размеренный ритм? Он сказал, ребята, что такое? Что не так? И после этого, right after that, you thought that it's, maybe you should concentrate on a vibrato?
No, I was just saying, you have to play with people to realize what you need and what you don't need. Yes, exactly.
Да, и, собственно, тебе нужно играть с людьми, чтобы осознать, что тебе нужно действительно подтянуть. То есть ты умеешь играть соло, но не умеешь играть ритм. Например, да? То есть и люди тебе об этом скажут.
But the one thing you need long hair, so that's...
И обязательно нужны длинные волосы. Но это шуточка.
I'm rambling. I'm going to move on. We'll talk about it more later. Okay, fantastic. One more, then I'm going to play some music. I want to get someone not... we did a Q&A the other...
Tomorrow evening.
Sure.
Remember?
What's up?
Yeah.
We'll get back to you.
It's all good. It's all good.
So, I have a question. Where did you draw the inspiration? Where did you draw the inspiration from for the Remarkably Human album? It's much darker and more somber than your previous works, but at the same time more mature and collected.
Вопрос про...
Английскому учат, бро, извини.
Это вопрос про вдохновение конкретно, по написанию конкретного альбома, да? Remarkable Human Being? A Remarkable Being Human. My English is shit, yeah?
Remarkable Human Being-ing.
Собственно, всем все понятно, что альбом действительно отличался от его предыдущих работ. Он стал более темным таким и тяжелым, что ли? При этом достаточно собранным в музыкальном смысле. И вопрос в том, что где Ник черпал вдохновение для написания именно этого альбома. I'm done, man.
Okay, so when I finish an album, when I finish what I think is enough stuff to go, that's an album. It takes me roughly a year from completing the demos to releasing the record. Like an entire year will go by, because I'm either waiting for people to play on the record, or to book studio time, or to save up some money to properly produce it.
Да, собственно, от ранних демок до выпуска альбома прошел примерно год, и так столько времени понадобилось по разным причинам. Одна из них — это то, что там достаточное количество приглашенных артистов, их нужно было дождаться, чтобы они смогли принять участие в записи этого альбома. Также нужно было немножечко денег для продюсирования, и также нужно было время на студии, чтобы произвести эту запись.
So in that year gap, I'm still writing music. I never stop. Never ever stop. So the real answer is that's just what came out in that year. That's just, there was no, I need to write an album that's somber. What did you say? Somber yet has a mature, like, yeah, oh man, because that sounds really, really good. But that's just the music that came out. I was playing a lot of piano at the time, and I hadn't explored some of those harmonies. Like I love, for example, Remarkably Human, the intro of that song, it's this tritone kind of thing. It's like, you know, I like that. That kind of, yeah, John Williams meets, I don't know, science fiction kind of harmony, you know, a lot of classical music. That kind of harmony. And I wasn't hearing a lot of that in guitar music, so I'm like, maybe I should experiment with that a little bit. And the stuff that came out just happened to be that album. You know, I think I wrote 20 songs and I picked those 8. And that's what you heard.
Когда у тебя есть время, пространство, да, время все-таки, в год, то да, я не прекращал писать музыку и интересоваться музыкой, и поэтому это просто шло само собой. Также было большое влияние классической музыки, и я играл много на пианино, почерпал что-то от этого. Также низкое звучание, low tones. Ну, было применено на вступлении, я так понимаю, да, к этому альбому в первой песне.
So I love taking a simple melody and doing something harmonically interesting with it.
Залог успеха, да, Ника, это простая мелодия и интересные гармонии с ней.
For example, let's focus on this note, everybody. Ready? Here we go. Here we go. Beautiful. Everybody hears that note. Feels good. Sounds good. Oh. Feels very good, doesn't it? Okay, so right now it's just a D note. It's not major, it's not minor, it's not diminished. Is that light seriously going to stay off? That's fine. Okay, so as soon as I put something behind it, that note becomes part of a bigger picture. Let's see what we got here. So now it's a minor third. What if I want it to be a major third? Let's make it a dominant chord. It's an augmented chord. It's gonna be a C chord. That pitch was constant throughout all of that, but the chord progression was shifting and moving all around and reharmonizing that note in a whole bunch of different ways. That to me is so much more fun than, hey, here we go, oh my God. Because it kind of uses everything. It uses your ear, it uses your sense of space, it uses your composition, and restraint. We gotta have restraint. Love of God.
Are you sure?
I'm not sure at all, but you try it.
Ну да, собственно...
Don't worry about the harmony, just maybe the idea of the...
Ну да, идея в том, что вот звучащие ноты, ее обыграть получается, да, как-то интересно, а не концентрироваться на звукоизвлечении многих нот.
A good example of that is Remarkably Human. So that melody... Hey. Those are all in E minor. But the chords, okay, so this is what it could have been if I wanted to harmonize it in key. One second. Sounds like a Christmas song. It could have been, let's see here, E minor to G major. I'll do one more just to illustrate the point. It could have been, let's try. That's terrible. We don't want that. What it became was B flat, because the B flat still has the D note in it. It's the major third instead of the B minor, the minor third. And that just feels so good.
Yeah, so I'd like to add just one more thing. Actually,
Of course.
in my guitar teacher, we've been trying to crack the code behind the melody and why does it gel so well together?
Crack what code?
Yeah.
To that song?
Actually, all of the songs on the album, and in particular Poison Touch, we found out that you used a lot of harmonic minor.
Расскажи нам всем по-русски, пожалуйста, тоже.
I thought that was me for a second. I'm like, I speak Russian?
You will.
Пожалуйста. В общем, мы
Ты русский, я думал, ты это...
Продолжай, конечно.
Да, мы изучали с учителем мелодику в песнях Remarkably Human и пытались понять, почему она так гладко ложится и пассажи такие плавные. И пришли к выводу, что Ник использует довольно много гармонического минора.
Technical guy.
That's a bit of a theory question.
Okay.
And a bit of a
Harmony minors sounds like you use it.
Too much,
Yeah, lots of that stuff in that album. So because he is, trying to get your melodies with his teacher.
Okay.
And it's interesting for him. How is it, so cool?
How is it so cool? How is it so cool? Let me think here. Okay. So, that's a fucking hard question. Basically, I look at every chord as it could be its own key. So, okay, I'll give you a really good example. Maybe not a great example, but a good example. The solo section in Remarkably Human. Okay.
Всем понятно, да, что секция соло в
Oh, he's filming me now. So this is the good stuff. This is the dark meat on the turkey. This is the bear meat that I had last night. Okay, I'm done. All right, check it out. So it's E minor. And it goes to this awful chord that I can't believe I used this chord. Basically, and the reason I say I don't like using it is because you can only really play like one thing on it. Damn it. It's a C minor chord with a 6 and a 7, all right? Then it goes to G major. F sharp dominant. And F with a sharp 11 in it. Back to E minor. A. C, and then E flat. Sounds like. One of those chords is in its own world. And depending on how I'm feeling, I will approach it completely different. Just tell him the gist of it. Just the gist of it.
Да, то есть все зависит от того, как ты чувствуешь тот или иной, получается, момент, да, и из-за этого ты уже делаешь те или иные аккорды, да?
Okay, so the way I think of it now, here, let me preface this with this: you are overthinking it too much. Whatever you're doing, I don't put that much thought into it.
Да, все, что ты делаешь, не нужно, ну, слишком много концентрации
There's
на
no
каких-то
code to
деталях
crack.
вот этих, да, то есть... The point is just do it, the something.
Well, yes and no.
Okay.
Yes and no. Because you have to know what you're doing in order to do it.
Да, ну, то есть ты должен знать, что ты делаешь,
Okay, so
но не зацикливаться на
Oh.
этом. Оп.
Now, when I come up here, the reason I play that song first is because I want to get that out of the way, because that's not easy to play over.
Почему, говорит, я сначала сыграл эту песню, потому что она сложная, и хотелось сразу ее запустить и уже больше к ней не возвращаться.
And it all depends on how my day has been going, how much caffeine I've had. Had a lot today. I'm diabetic, so if my blood sugar is really low, I'm going to think about it differently. It depends on... my legs are really tired, so as I'm playing that, I'm like, my feet kind of hurt. I'm like, oh, fuck, my feet hurt. Oh, harmonic minor. Or, let me think. My cat is 16 years old, and I'm like, I hope he's with my parents. I'm like, I hope he's being fed right now. I'm serious. I think about these things. I'm thinking about the book I'm reading. I think about what we're doing for dinner later. We have to fly to Turkey in the morning, so I got to get enough sleep to get to that, and then maybe, some time to sightsee. I wonder what Turkey's like. I haven't really spent any time there. Oh, yeah, then if we go to a cool restaurant, then I can say I've had some good Turkish food. Oh my God, that's going to be great. Oh shit, I'm playing a clinic. Come on, Nick. Oh, there's the chord change. You got it. No, you missed it. Don't worry about it. Keep going. Oh, your pick is really sweaty. It's really hot in here. Hold on to the pick. Oh, there's the tone now part. You want to get the back pick up? You fucked it up. You missed it. Oh my God. Don't worry. Keep going. Okay. Oh, there's a camera in front of your face. Look at that camera. Oh, it's going to be on YouTube and people are going to comment. I hope you play well. Oh, you played badly. Don't worry about it. Keep going. These are all things that's going through my mind. So I don't have the luxury to go or to think like, well, over this chord, I'm going to land on the 7. Oh, maybe if I can grab. They would prefer it if I hit Mixolydian there. I'm just using my ear. I'm using my ear. The theory is running in the background. Don't even try and translate this. The theory is like working somewhere in the background. I'm just relying on the moment. There's no code to crack. The code is just play a shitload of guitar, man. That's it. Oh my God. But I do appreciate that you are very interested in it. That means a lot. I seriously, that means a lot to me. Thank you very much.
Спасибо за вопрос такой действительно здоровский. Так что поаплодируем молодому человеку.
Okay, I'm gonna shut the hell up. I'm gonna play some more music. This is off of Remarkably Human. Do you know the song Hypergiant? I'm gonna play that one. Thank you very much. All right, a couple more questions, then I'm gonna play, then we'll get that door open. What's up, man?
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. Do you remember me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is that famous guy?
I remember you were on the street last night.
Yeah. I have many questions. First questions, very important. These questions I give it to co-guitarist, to Steve Vai, to Joe Satriani.
Oh my god.
How your favorite sex pose?
A good question.
Children, sorry.
All right, let's just breeze on past that one.
Why are you asking? Interesting, more
Well,
girls.
buy me a shot of vodka later. We'll talk about it.
What's your other question?
Следующий.
Да.
Next, да? Дивай сказал, что это без слова. Тогда на русском. Тогда ладно, я все уже.
Ну, окей.
Спроси, пожалуйста, я узнал про Ника через Джейсона Ричардсона, через Полифию, когда я ходил по ссылкам, и потом, собственно, я
You know,
сегодня
he know you.
Я оказался
After that, guys,
Да, и
he found you after killing that guys. Ага.
И я хотел бы спросить, как у них там тусовки происходят? Они там встречаются, вместе батлят, там, не знаю, выпивают, там, отдыхают, там, что? Второй вопрос, пожалуйста.
His question is, how is it going with your music, community? You're hang up, go to the bars together, some ideas are born on that stuff, or
Do we hang out a lot?
yeah, with maybe that guys.
If we're on tour, yeah. I live in Canada. They all live in the States. Plefia's from Texas. Jason's from Maryland. I'm from Toronto. So I don't typically just go and drive to Texas. That's like a fucking 30-hour drive. There's one guy in the scene. Do you know Aaron Marshall? From a band called Intervals? It doesn't matter. He lives pretty close to me, like 20 minutes away. So no. If we're on tour, and we've done a lot of touring together, yeah, of course we'll hang out. But when I get home from tour, for example, I've been traveling a lot this year, like too much, but it's good. I tend to try and hang out with people that have nothing to do with this, like friends I haven't seen in months. Or, for example, when I go home from this tour, I go to a wedding with one of my oldest friends is getting married, and I haven't seen him in a long time. So I'd rather do that than go and have a beer and talk about instrumental guitar. You know?
Ну да, ответ в таком формате, что, естественно, да, мы тусуемся, но только когда в туре, потому что, во-первых, я живу в Торонто, Ник живет в Торонто, я живу в Москве. Ник живет в Торонто, а ребята в США, и он просто не может взять, сесть в машину и поехать с ними потусоваться, потому что это займет около 30 часов. Но есть и другие, да, ребята, которые живут поближе к нему, и, естественно, да, тусовка происходит гораздо чаще. Но опять же, всегда есть выбор, потому что вот после подобных туров, естественно, Ник предпочтет встретиться с друзьями, которых он давно не видел, нежели пойти на какую-нибудь музыкальную сходку и тусовку и еще поговорить немножко о гитарной музыке. Это
and I'm a lot older than those guys too, so we don't really have a lot in common to begin with. You know, they're 22, 23, I'm 30. You know, I don't hang out with a lot of 22-year-olds.
Немного прям общего с ними, да? Because of age, yeah? Ну да, то есть особо много не получится, потому что все-таки, разные люди по-разному мыслят, разный возраст немного.
Ну, как бы мы, русская публика, смотрим и думаем, что, по крайней мере, я так думаю, что вы там как бы все такая, типа, семья, family, собираться не могут. Оказалось...
Did you get the family? Yeah?
And the sex balls, yeah.
The point. It was about as we see Western guitar players and musicians, we are all around together, hanging out and do like that.
Yeah, because
stuff.
because this genre is kind of insular, we tend to all tour together. So you'll see photos of us together if we're trapped on a bus together for 7 weeks. That's where those
Ну, то есть,
photos
да,
will
так
come
кажется, потому что они вместе ездят в одном автобусе, и поэтому, да, есть фотографии, конечно, и может сложиться такое впечатление, что они постоянно, но нет.
from. Yeah, and you're like colleagues. You know, okay, check this out. You go to work, you work with your colleagues for 8 hours a day. You don't want to go home and call, hey, you want to come over? And like, you know what I mean? Like,
Ну да, то есть ты работаешь с людьми на работе вот по 8 часов, приходишь домой, звонишь им и говоришь, ну что, пойдем еще потусуемся?
in a way, it's kind of like that. Hey, Tim, what's up, buddy? And Scott and Jason. That's just the way it is. So it's good.
Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome.
One more question.
Okay, one more.
Maybe next one.
Серег, перейди, пожалуйста, ему, скажи, спроси по поводу рычага. Он его просто потерял и потом начал использовать.
It's about your tremolo
I know.
arm.
I could see the pose. I love the pose you did. That's gonna be like on my tombstone.
You prefer just don't use it, or you forgot it somewhere?
Yeah, I must have forgot it somewhere. That's why you've seen me do it for years now. Okay, real quick, because this is absolutely. I don't want to talk anymore either. Believe me. Okay, so I had a guitar with a floating bridge with the float rose and all that shit. It was great, but I relied too much on it. So everything I'd play. And I had a friend one day that said, "You sound really, really bad."
So you just don't use it.
So I thought, I'm gonna buy a Telecaster.
You have that guitar and... Ну да, то есть была гитара у Ника с Floyd Rose, двусторонней машинкой.
I don't know where your mouth has been.
Good for you. Okay. Who cares? Была гитара с двухсторонней машинкой, и он был в порядке, да, используя вот это. Но получалось, что все сводилось к использованию машинки. И приятель просто сказал, ну слушай, это какая-то лажа.
So I bought a Telecaster, and I changed everything. Because Telecasters don't have the whammy bar. However, a friend of mine had a Strat, and I noticed he did this one day. I was like, wait a minute. Oh shit. And I bought a Strat again after years of not having one. And I noticed I could still get the same effect, a little bit of pitch shift, without having to go back to whammy bar jail. I know if I went back to the whammy bar, it would be like, you know, I don't drink alcohol anymore, for example. If I put the whammy bar back in, I'd be like crushing 40. That's like the same thing. I would just, yeah, man, fucking. Woo! It'd be like the same exact thing. So, I lost him.
Да, после того, как он продал гитару с Floyd Rose, он купил себе телекастер, и все было вроде как здорово, но чего-то не хватало, небольшого вот вибрато такого. И после чего он снова вернулся к стратокастеру, и опять же, он не использует рычаг намеренно, да, потому что если он его поставит, то это все сведется опять ко всем вот этим.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I use it just, for example, like... Or like this. Just a little bit. I like that slight... Just a little tiny bit. And what's happened is, by doing that, without really worrying too much about it, it's kind of become a thing that people say, hey, you do that thing. And it's like, I guess I do that thing. So it's cool.
Да, то есть в небольших количествах работа вот правой рукой непосредственно с тремоло, она как раз в тему. И опять же, это прикольный трюк, и все спрашивают, о, ты делаешь вот так, а не рычагом работаешь. Это прикольно.
All right, one more question. Who's got the magic last question?
The guy
Way in the back with the hat on.
Hello there.
Hello there.
Nick, can you describe your vision of a fretboard? One of the questions were about fretboards, and you said,
That's a good one.
let's think about, for example, D sharp note. Do you think about notes or it's about positions or boxes?
Ну, по-русски.
Можете он написать свое видение грифа? То есть он мыслит внутри боксов, внутри каких-то позиций в нотах или о нотах конкретно, или об аккордах?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay. I'll try. There's going to be some theory involved, so it won't be too simple.
Yeah.
All right. So, I do know my music theory. I know how everything's connected and whatever key I'm in and intervals and.
Excuse me.
It's okay. It's okay. I know how all these things are connected, and if I want to grab a certain tone or a certain pitch or a certain tension, I can do that. However, I am left-handed, and 3-note per string guitar picking, for me, is really hard.
You're left-handed?
Proceed. Yes, I am.
Oh, really?
Oh, cool.
Ну, собственно, да. Давайте попробуем. По большому счету, вот ник левша, и делать какие-то вещи именно...
3 ноты на струне.
Да. 3 ноты на струне, это как бы еще, может быть, и подойдет, да, но что-то сложное, это уже просто тяжело.
Это и есть сложность.
Что?
Это и есть сложность.
А, это и есть сложность. Я понял, сделать 3 ноты на струне — это уже сложность.
So I tend to think of it, because that's so weak for me, I tend to think of it in more of like arpeggio-based guitar playing. Do you got it? I tend to think of it more up and down rather than side to side.
То есть ты больше стараешься, он больше старается делать движения вверх и вниз, нежели вдоль по грифу.
So instead of doing this, if I wanted to play over, I might not go. I might go like, let's see, I don't know. Some bullshit like that. I'm thinking of it up and down as opposed to just because my technique will not let me do that. So I have to do that instead. That's it.
Ну, возможность не позволяет делать определенным образом, да, то есть гонять по ширине грифа, это из-за необходимости получается, да, из-за ограниченности вот возможностей левой руки двигаться вверх и вниз.
All right, so I'm getting the wrap-up sign, so I'm going to play one more song, and then we can all meet and be best friends. Guys, thank you so much for coming and staying attentive during this long-winded guitar clinic. Thank you so much.
Спасибо.
And Russia is fucking awesome, guys.
Okie dokie. Hey.
All right, thank you very much, guys.